the college football playoff discussion, the deadline to meet to decide what's going to be next. Is it going to still remain 12? Is it going to be 16? Is it going to be 86? Whatever the number they come to. These committee meetings, but they have extended the deadline to make a decision on structural changes to January 23rd.
Yeah, I'm not surprised because they don't do anything on time. And then when you have the Big Ten flooding the market or, whatever with proposals of 24, 28, everybody, we just start the playoffs in August and go and move on. Like they have all these things and you're going to have these fights. And when the two biggest partners have such a different, view of what it should be, where the Big Ten wants 24 now, the SEC wants 16. That's a big gap to cross. And then you've got kind of everybody else caught in the middle in some way, shape, or form. But I wonder if that's really the deadline, or if we're going to get like a February 10th after that. If they can really get it done.
Well, I mean, at some point they have to decide.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point they have to. They tried to make this out to be some hard deadline, and funny how that worked. That deadline got pushed back by a few weeks, so it wasn't that hard of a deadline. But you'll remember when all these things were being proposed over the offseason of like, well, we got to figure this out. It's right around the corner. And so they've kicked the can a little bit, and that's fine. I'm more worried about this weekend and this year's playoff and how all that shakes out tonight. Care about 27, 28, 29. I'm totally fine if they stay with 12. They can tweak it some more in terms of, like, at this point, you've already done the seeding thing. So what would you do? I mean, I think you could mess with the formulas, the committee, and how you do those types of things. I think we've all kind of reached a stage like we did with the BCS. We were so fed up with it being solely computers that now we're kind of fed up with it being solely committees deciding who deserves to be 10 and 11 and 12. And I think that could always be improved upon and have a little bit of both, a little nice meeting in the middle. But, yeah, it's the number of teams and how that all works that they can't seem to settle on. And we've seen all the different ideas thrown out. The Big Ten, in a month from now, they'll probably have another idea they throw out where everybody gets 6 automatic bursts or something along those lines. It's a 64-team playoff, and everybody's happy because everybody will be involved to some extent. But, there's been a lot of ideas kicked around, and I'm fine where we are. I am intrigued by 16. Anything past that, and I'm not sold on that either. Anything past that, I absolutely want no part of. So we'll see how that all goes. But yeah, it's not the most pressing news at the moment, although it is a big part of how we're going to be watching this game in the future.
I would like to know, if we could know, and I think we know the answer is this: okay, you guys can expand, but we're not going to give you any more money. You could have 16 or 24, but you're not going to get any more. Debate's over.
Yeah, I mean, that's the end of the discussion because this is all about money. More teams, more money, more games, more money, more money. And even the ones that have it want more of it. So it's a reflection of our modern times in a way of the billionaires need more money. In this case, the multimillionaires need more money and can't stop until they have reached an end where there is no more to be had. And so, yeah, if they go to 16, I can guarantee you there will be somebody that goes, if we went to 24, it's like, dude, we just are making 20 million extra or whatever the numbers would be. Be like, yeah, but we can make 40 million extra if we do this. And then if they went to that, a year later, somebody would go, if we went to 32, we could really make this thing pop. So, I mean, that's going to be never ending, I feel like. But I'm cool with where we are. 16, I tap out after that. I have no interest.
I do think that we've seen, for the most part, that the regular season should count, and it does. But then ask Miami about that. And a lot of it depends on if you win, when you win, what you do after that time. And somebody was bringing this up the other day when they were talking about Miami, and if they don't get in, that's not fair. Notre Dame, they beat them straight up. Eventually, when you play somebody and beat them, head-to-head should not really matter unless that's who you're competing to get in, like Miami and a Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think 16 is the max, and I think we can be fine with 16 as parity continues to grow in college football and maybe not feel like it's so watered down. I do think, here we are in the second year of 12, and I'm watching it now, and it feels like and I know that they worked hard on it, but it does feel like for once they stumbled across, something that was good in the 12-team playoff, and the tweaks I would make to that would be very minor in regards to almost nothing on how you pick the teams, or leave it open for changes as new information becomes available. I would just change, where you have all the games. I'd want more on campuses, but I don't have a whole lot of problems with the 12 feet of the stands, and 16 is fine if we continue to have parity. But after that, there's no way that you can justify that every team should have 4 teams in.
That the entire top 25 should have a shot.
Yeah.
Winning and losing should matter. It should matter.
And that's being affected somewhat. And that's why there are some people who are detractors of it. It's understandable. If you've lost your 3rd game by now, you shouldn't be in any conversation whatsoever. And the old days, you would have been out of it a month ago. So I see both sides of it. I mean, that's how I grew up, was you lost 1 game and you're like, oh God, our whole season, we can't lose another game the rest of the way. And that was fun in a way, but also there were a lot of seasons where you lost your 2nd game earlier. Our season's over with. Maybe we'll go to a good bowl game, but for our expectations, depending on who you're rooting for, it's who cares, right? If you're not, it's national championship or big New Year's game or bust for some schools. So that element's missing. It's definitely crushed the bowls. I mean, the Poinsettia Bowl and the bowls that aren't really involved, I mean, those have taken huge hits, and you can still get some squeeze out of that as far as some positivity and some fun, but it's kind of few and far between compared to how it was when winning a bowl game was just a great way to end your year, and now it's just not viewed exactly that way anymore. And so many fewer teams win a bowl game at the end of the year because they're getting eliminated in a playoff where you have to lose to have your season end. So, yeah, man, it's going to be a never-ending conversation until they figure it out. And I just think that there's no rush, because I think that there are several leagues like the Big 12 with Brett Yormark, and especially this year the ACC and Jim Phillips, who need to think long and hard about these AQs and really figure out how much they want to gamble, because you're not in charge. You have a little bit of public pressure you can apply, but you see what's being offered out there. And you've had some pretty sweet deals that maybe weren't good for the game, but were good for you. And you said, no, we want to do what's best for the game, but just don't let the wolf into the hen house. And Sankey's no automatic qualifiers, 12 teams determined by the AP, and then it's 10 SEC teams, So that's what I worry about, if anything. But I mean, that's all for another day to discuss.
Someone brought up play-in games. That's what they have now. If there's a bye, if anyone has a bye, whatever the round is prior to that would be considered as a play-in game. The first round games are basically play-in games to continue on.
Yeah, I mean, what Tony Petitti essentially wants to do is make the conference championship weekend an entire play-in weekend for all the 4 qualifiers.
Well, that's what Josh Pates proposed, and a few other people have all come up with those ideas where, 1's playing 2, but then 3's playing 6, and 4's playing 5, and then those win, and then they get a chance to play into the playoff. And I understand the excitement level of that, and I understand that conference championship games, especially when teams aren't playing every other team, really do take a little bit of a hit. That you are you the Big Ten champ when you didn't play 3 of the top teams? So I understand the appeal of that. I think that starts to get a little wonky and pro sportsy for me, but I do think there would be some exciting games. And if next weekend was who's playing, let's say BYU and Texas Tech, and they're both in and they're playing. Well, we'd have to figure out the automatic qualifiers, because are they both in?
Well, that's my
thing. In the SEC, they would be. So Georgia and Bama, if they play, they're both in regardless. So that's whatever. But then you'd have Oklahoma playing Ole Miss, and the winner goes to the playoff, and you can see where that'd be exciting.
It's football, though, and you really don't have a lot of time because of the space between games. It's not like basketball where you can play 2 or 3 games in a row.
Remember, we were worried about players playing 15 games, and now we're trying to get them to play 20 to win a national title.
I'll also look. I can fix the bowls for you right now. I can fix the bowls. There's a basketball tournament going on right now that more and more teams are going to want to get involved in. The Big 12 just bought an ownership
Players
stake
tournament.
in it. The Players Era Festival. Bowl games have to run they may not have as much money, obviously, as that thing does, because it's got some huge backing to it. But if college football wants to fix the bowl games, you get essentially 3 bowl games or 2 and then the national championship. And then the other 4, they're just seed everybody through the rankings, and then you get to play a bunch of teams that you wouldn't normally play before and make the bowls go down from there.
Yeah, bowls find an NIL partner. They pay the teams to play in the bowls, and they'll all of a sudden.
That's a given regardless.
But also get rid of the conference affiliations so that, or make it somewhat regional or whatever, so it's not all over the place. But I'd be way more excited if I was, say, a Cincinnati fan, and instead of having to do this because the Bulls have been messed up by this one had a 10-year agreement with the Pac-12. Well, now you could wind up playing Arizona again, and you've already played them during the year because the Pac-12 and Big 12 had this bowl agreement. Then I might get to play, say, I'll just say Auburn, that I wouldn't normally get to play if it's seeded that way.
Yeah, new blood. New bloods. Fans like to see new bloods and new logos. By the way, speaking of that basketball tournament, the Big 12 yesterday went 4-0. Actually, I think Arizona State won a game against UT in another tournament. Iowa State's already beaten Creighton, and KU has just tipped off against Syracuse. So they've had a nice start in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think playoff opinions are like a-holes that everybody has one and they all stink. I think there's some cool ideas. I think there's ideas that it could be tweaked a little bit and be good to great, and that's all for these guys to figure out, and they've been trying to do that. But there's obviously a lot of agendas, and not everybody sees things the same way or sees each other as equals. So it's going to continue to be politics and backroom meetings to try and figure this thing out. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to this weekend. I love college football anyways. I don't know if the 12 teams made it better for me or not. I don't know. I'm trying to think about where I was like 3 or 4 years ago. I did not like the 4 team. I didn't enjoy that. But and the team that I root for was involved in it multiple times.
They were involved in it.
But this,
yeah.
I don't have those things. I'm like, yeah, I like this. I liked it. And then there's part of me that goes, I don't like that we're talking about a 3-loss team and them. So there's no perfect way. And for some, it's already jumped the shark. I know I've seen a lot of college football fans that are not nearly as big of fans because of the NIL aspect, but also they don't like the playoff setup or whatever. So, to each their own, but I'm enjoying what we're getting this year. I think the parity, you can walk a fine line where it gets too much to where it's like, well, then nobody's good because they all just beat each other randomly, like in the NFL kind of a situation.
Well, then that's why you would have to go to divisions.
And that's where, you do need to be a little bit careful about it's being so watered down where everybody's just too similar. But you also don't want it to where it's the haves and the have-nothings, and then you're trying to compare them,
If you have 4, you have more exclusivity for the teams that really aren't allowed to be a part of it. You go to 12, at least it's giving some teams a shot.
It's given us a lot of interesting storylines to talk
about. Teams that otherwise would have no shot have a shot now, and 16 maybe. I don't know what it might do.